to show you an alternative to the vinyl skirting, which is actually back in here. And they tried a concrete board, which is, this is a boards that you put on the walls for ceramic tile. Pretty sturdy, but if you notice how it wicks up water, ends up getting soft down there and doesn't last very long. The stuff that I'm going to show you is using metal skirting and using the same bottom channel and top channel. So what you do first, pull up this is real heavy.
Oh, waterlogged?
Very waterlogged. Getting around the corner.
Huh.
It snaps in. It's got a little edge right there that catches on that. And so we'll end up going all the way down. In order to do that,
Just like that.
you gotta be careful when it's cold because they'll break much easier. They're plastic. So we're going to start right here, and we're going to count on this being the top of our metal, and we're hoping that will always be square. So let's say we don't want to get all the way up against here because then you can't snap back in, so we want to be on this second line, maybe a little above it. So on the left side, 16, 36 inches, 17. So I'm going to use there, 17 there. Take any kind of straight edge. This case is a drywall T-square. It's a whole wore out pair of snips. Then we need to make sure it's level, otherwise you're going to be staggering all the way from one end to the other. Where's that screwdriver?
Well, that video just got a nice view of my fingers.
You're caught. CSI's already got your fingerprints. They know what you did.
God damn him for trying to make an honest day's labor.
Just trying to be honest. Get caught on camera. Now I'm going to level this and then start the next one. The next one's going to be lapped over. Sometimes you'll have to deal with the bottom and up and down. You'll have to measure again from a line in here that you make yourself. Say that second rib, measure down, measure over, and cut out that hump. And we'll come back when we come to those. The air conditioning lines It gave me overs and ups on each. Overs and ups. And I've already cut the total sheet length and height. The length is already 37 inches. But I don't have the ability to, I don't want to disconnect the line. So what I'm going to do is cut the sheet. And the simple way to do it is to find one of these ribs and then take your razor knife, like in this case here. Since we're going to go over from this side and lap over, I don't have any movement there really. On this side I do. So I'm going to take the razor knife, cut that. It's going to be a container. Now those cuts right there, I know I'm going to go over, lap this sheet over, so I'm going to cut it so that it has some lap space. On this side I have a little bit of room here. It doesn't have to be square, it can be kind of rounded in the corner because those lines are rounded. So, in order for this to lap over, I need to cut into this a little bit. You see what we've already done in just a short period of time.
Yeah, you're bleeding pretty good.
Looks like we may have to cut a little more out there.
Okay.
And then we'll put a screw here, and then we lap it over. So we pushed it over, and see how it's cut around, it's lapping over that metal. So what we're going to do is put a screw right there. And then we put a screw over here. Anytime the air conditioning guy wants to work on it, he can just pull the top panel out, pull two screws, get in underneath if he wants to. Or anybody else. Any part of this, you can pull the top panel off, pull two screws, and get under any panel. So you don't need an access door. And they don't blow out, even as high as 90 inches. I'll put screws on then at the bottom, but they don't blow out. So there you go, there's one irregularity that you don't run into all the time, but when you have air conditioning, you definitely do. Well, folks, I'm going to go in close. If you look at the top, you'll see these ribs every 8-9 inches. If anybody asks, that's where your venting is. But will it stop all water from being underneath your house? Will not. Okay? No matter what you do, unless you build a footing that goes through the ground a foot deep, so you're not stopping water. And even then, you might get water underneath your house. So there's a whole section devoted to that, and a lot of talk and text regards and responding to that venting. And there's a whole nother video that's an hour and a half long on how to do it in detail. That includes how to cut it, how to mark it, everything. And it's got over 50,000 views. But if you notice right here where the penetrations are, there's a ground wire for the cable running through, or you'll find phone wires or on and on. Just notched it so it wouldn't sit there and rub against it. We moved it to where a rib was, and he's snapping it in. I encourage you to use your legs, not your hands. Use the muscles in your legs. So he's having a struggle. Of course, when you're on camera, you have a hard time. And it snaps back in there. And he's trying to use his arms more than his legs.
I'm short.
There you go.
I'm trying to show how much I can reach.
So anyway, you snap it on around, and there'll be some incline differences along the bottom, but again, you measure the same distance from the top down. The end result is pretty impressive, actually, and it holds up to wind very, very well. I mean, I've never had one blow out. I've had them run into it with zero radius mowers going too fast, or they freewheel when they get going downhill and just dent it. Now, don't get me wrong, you can knock the bottom rail on the bottom loose, but usually it takes a lot because we're wedging down on the ground. Now, he's pushing in the corner. If you'll notice, it's not full length. We cut it so it's like, we measured from the bottom of that bottom rail to about an inch above, so you can raise up beyond and then drop back down in. Now, that's just a dress-up thing. You can just fold it up. You might tell I'm not as good a cameraman as he is, but you can just fold that metal and go around. And but that kind of gives it a little bit of a dressy look. Nice sharp corner. And there's another cable that we'll have to cut. That top back. Again, we had a lot of concrete board that had green mold on it. This particular house we put a metal roof on. It's a different video, but the end result is a real pretty sharp. If you notice, this is the area that he's working on right now. This was a concrete board that was used, and this is all green mold, or moss actually, not mold. So there you go. Again, if you want even more detail, there's like an hour and a half video on detailed after detail on how to do metal skirting job with this scenario using the existing vinyl bottom rail, top back and top front. So I welcome you to try it yourself. Be Americans, not Americans.